assessment or disasters that we, all you need to do is that, oh, victims of emergency and disasters have their rights. They have a right to personal properties. They have right to their religious belief, their tangible, but intangible assets, including what we call longages. Part of all of that, they should be preserved. Then they also have to have access to information like news. They should, where you have them information should be given to them. Beat radio, they're also expected for you to connect information like televisions and don't giving them information so that they'll know what is happening. They are not in the prison. They have not committed any offense. So they have to be treated with what we call dignity. As part of this, all of the call number 8 as rights of the victims, right of disasters involved is that they also have what we call participation in decision making. How do they have right to participation in decision making? All that is involving them, including the kind of food they should eat, including if you want to supply to them, if you want to win, you should seek their consent. Now that you cook apple, when you cook apple in the morning, because you say they are victims of emergency and disasters, so they must be able to eat apple and egusi, or they must be eat what we call bitter leaf in the morning. Where hitherto, they are not supposed to eat that. Even if they were not happen, even if they were ransacked, even if they don't have basic, once they become victims of emergency and disaster, they have to be treated with the international standard, with a very social standard. Not that you say, these people were in their houses, even offshore, in their houses, they couldn't eat anything like semo, like akpu, like what we call rice and all of that, beans. So you can just hamper all of them. It's against right of victims of emergency and that. They also have right to educations. They should be people so involved in emergency and educations. They should be in school. Now that they should be dislocated in issues like NECO, issues like WAEC, issues like common entrance examination, like we're preparing to go into first term for those in the secondary school. For those that are displaced, it is the responsibility of all of you. It is my responsibility, that of the NGOs, that of the private sector, that of the what we call both the public sector in collaboration with the coordinating agency to ensure that they're in school, because they say my people perish for what? Lack of knowledge. They perish to ensure that victims of emergency and disasters, they're well educated and they are not hampered. Then there's also protection from discrimination and marginalization. Why are they protected from discriminations? There should be no discrimination or marginalization, saying these people belong to this political party. They belong to this part of faction. They belong to this group of people. So because they are victims of emergency and disasters, once they are members of these people, we will not be able to attend to them. We will not be able to look at them. Things that the government, the public sectors have done, it is against the Geneva Convention. It's against what we call the UN Charter. It is against all of that. They should have access to justice, access to accountability, and then violation of more. Not only that, victims of emergency they should make sure they are not disenfranchised in any way. By the disenfranchising, wherever they found themselves, if it's during election, they should be voted. We have what we told they should be treated with dignity and respect. They should receive what we call humanitarian assistance and discrimination. All of them, the sharing of relief material, it should be shared fairly. Not that you look at some certain faces, you don't like their faces. What should do is that it should be done the right way, except if they are not doing in accordance with what they are supposed to do. In that scenario, you teach them the standard and they show that they can be able to learn and pick to the standard like we are doing here. We begin to do all of this, is expected that, oh, a lot of this as part of ambassadors of emergency and disaster management, you should be able to know very well and assist. Then they should also be protected from sexual and gender-based violence. Issues like having access to education, we mentioned that. Issues like, we are a lot of emergency situations in emergency and disasters. A lot of women are coerced into marriage. A lot of young ones say, we have suffered enough, too much suffering. So it's better for you to marry and produce children. No, in emergency and disasters, as part of the rights, we are expected to educate them. You have to take care of them, even provide some little allowances. So it should be with consent, except if they decided, and should make sure that if they are minor, age not above 18 years of age, basic things must have been done in such a way to make sure they have access to all of this. They should be involved in design and implementation of humanitarian responses, in preparation, in disaster preparation, involve those victims in. It should not be what we call top-bottom approach, but it should be bottom-top approach. Bring all the stakeholders that are involved, from the women, their representative, part of the youth, their representative, the elderly people, their representative, in the emergency, those that the vulnerable, or what we call the disabled, with one disability or the others, with their representative, so that will be taken as a holistic approach. An holistic approach in such a way that we handle issues of emergency and disaster management. Then we also talk about involving the design, implementation of humanitarian services, involving what we have, response plans, having their privacies. Their privacies must also be confidential. You don't use emergency as this is done in my own part of the country here, where everybody, all they need to do is basically to go and shine. Shine in the sense that you go and pick pictures with them. Those must be with their consent to come and create content, come and litter on social media. You must necessarily be able to. Where you are, you should be with their consent. Don't go and use victims of emergency to come and shine during your paydays, showcasing that all of them, using them to cash crumbs and food. It's against rights of victims of emergency, except whereby you seek their consent, their privacy, their confidentiality is guaranteed, and they agree with you under the international law that you can go ahead with that. From there, you can be able to. Then you can also receive a kind of, they should be able to, they have right to receive adequate compensation on loss and damages. You don't have to wait till time infinitum, or waiting when you like, staying for some 100 years. Just like you have some people in the IDP camps here, you have them in Daudu, in Nichwa, where it's whooping. We remember that the APC administration of Buhari administration, along with the president, vice president of Sibanjo, where they came, they promised that they were going to compensate, paying a whooping sum of 10 billion. That has become a story for another day, and a story. No, that is not allowed under international organizations, and that also has some punitive measure. In emergency and disaster management, we carry out punishment as well. We don't take things anyhow, just like we mentioned, we keep repeating. When we feel that you have certain things you don't want to follow according to guidelines, you don't want to do according to the standards that's expected to do, we use what we call carrot and kinetic approach. Carrot in the sense that we use food and can. If it's not becoming all of that, and as much as depressing situation, and we see that, oh, it's part of rehabilitation, we do is that, we take care of that. So adequate and timely compensations should be on time, on part of that, corroborating, ensuring that we have access to legal mechanism. Then we look at human rights violations and abuses. What are the human rights violations and abuses in emergency? But before that, let me put discussion, and I will ask Doga Japheth. Doga Japheth is contributing a lot today, making a lot of them. Doga Japheth, why is it that a lot of the rules, the rights of victims that we have stated here, that are not being observed during or being issues of emergency and disaster? Why is it that those rights, most of these rights are not observed or are infringed upon in Africa and Nigeria? Over to you, Doga Japheth.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Doga Japheth, did you hear my question?
Not too clear. It was echoing on my side.
Okay, we're
Hello?
asking you that we have mentioned the rights of victims of emergency and disasters. And
Yes.
most of these rights victims of emergency and disasters have. Why is it that those rights and those rules are not observed in Africa and in Nigeria?
It's okay. Hello, sir. Hello,
Yeah,
sir.
I can hear you very well.
Yes.
Yes, Doga, we can hear you.
The simple reason I can give to that is that our society, the African society in general, is developing.
Okay.
Most of these
Okay.
most of these rights that are mentioned here are actually observable, but they are not practicable here.
Yes.
Because one,
Okay.
inadequacy in awareness. Most of our agencies and organizations, including individuals, are equally not aware. Are equally not aware of this right. You can see a situation that
That's very true.
NEMA or SEMA is performing their core responsibility, and then people are applauding NEMA for giving SOCOM to disaster victims, which erase the responsibility. SEMA, NEMA, or LIMA has no existing act. It is on the basis of this that they were established. So it is due to lack of awareness that these are cardinal responsibility or objectives of this organization that people go applauding them. And it goes down, it goes beyond even applauding them living up to their responsibility. So I center it primarily to lack of information, awareness. There's no adequate awareness to this issue.
Thank you
And
very
then
much,
our
Japheth.
society to some extent. Okay, sir. It's okay, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contributions on the rights of victims. Just like you say, most of the people that are saddled with the responsibility of carrying out this function are neither aware. Some are half-baked. When Japheth Doga becomes what we call, what is it? They appoint sisters, appoint his own siblings from the same local government, appoint people you think who lack the basic knowledge of issues. But because it's based on party patronage, they become some people to handle responsibility. Yeah, Nai Grace Joseph, your hands is up. You have the floor.
Thank Grace. You so much.
Yeah, you have the floor, Nai Grace.
Another reason is corruption. Another reason is corruption. And so when eventually, yes, I said another reason is corruption.
Yeah. We agree with you. Corruption is another reason.
By the time to the vulnerable, maybe it will just be some that will get to the people that are vulnerable, and as a result, people will be struggling there, like to get those stuff that are made available to them. So they don't even think that is their rights, to actually get all this necessary intervention that they are supposed to get. Is with her. And also we make the policies are made, but we discover that even the makers of the policies get to like break it and all that. So these are some of the things that affects the execution
Thank you very
of
much,
this right.
Thank you very much, Nai Grace
you,
Joseph, for contributing on the rights of victims of emergency, hampering on corruption, as corruption being one of the bane, one of the causes, and also the formulators of the policy not implementing or adhering to the policy they formulated, lack of implementation and adherence to the basic issues, just like you stated. Aside from that, there are some human rights violations and abuses that carry out in the camps. That you make sure we state some of these violations. Sexual and gender-based violence is one of them. The emergency and disasters camp. There is sexual and gender-based violence ongoing with us issues of emergency, not just as camps, sometimes it's in communities, sometimes in where you have even refugees. There's also, if you are restricting what we call victims of emergency and disaster management, restriction of freedom of movement and healthcare is totally foul. They are not thieves, they are not criminals, they are not what we call victims. So you don't have the right to restrict their movement. But mostly when they are kept in camps, when they are kept at what we call, for the locality who lack the knowledge, who are not well versed with the international protocols and standards, they restrict them from moving from one place to another. And it's as you as an ambassador of emergency and the disasters, you should take it very clear and in clear terms that it's part of the violation of the fundamental principles of what we call victims of emergency and disasters. There should also be no discrimination. Discrimination against certain groups, including what we call lesbians, gays, bisexual, trans, and what transgender. All those individuals, they should not be in any way be discriminated under emergency and disasters. There should also be issues, we mentioned issues of disenfranchising them. We are, a lot of them, even as they are into various camps now, there is ongoing voters registration for the 2027 election. Victims of emergency and disaster, know it today, know it peace. They are supposed to, once they are 18 years and above and meet requirements, they are supposed to be registered, and all of them, get them in charge to participate and vote who they want to be their leader. Don't forget that in Africa here, we have about 2 or 3 presidents, and even in the developed society, that were part of the victims of emergency and disasters. Some of them were part of one issue or the other. They were born in a camp, in IDP camp gliders, and they grow up to be president. They can be people who will be facilitators, giving information on issues of emergency like we are doing here, sharing ideas, and all of that. Discrimination against certain groups of what we call within, and then lack of access to education and emergency camps, Boko Haram, farming, fishing, grazing, and all of that. Using them as what we use to see them on the street, a lot of those involved in emergency and disasters, they turn to the street selling granite, you turn them to sweeping to make ends meet. No, it's a kind of a violation of their dignity, the part of violation of their rights. The others are used in selling what we call corn or maize on the street, a lot of them, as we see them. Trying on moving, hawking, a lot of granite, a lot of this. All of this is prohibited. Some are used in grazing, in trading, and what we call street vending. All of that is against human rights violations and abuses of emergency and disasters. And then there's also what we call forced recruitment of children into armed banditry, into even farming. Say you are looking for children, and now Grace, you're looking for people that will help you on the farm. So you don't know, go to IDP now. When you go to IDP, you will see some of them, people where they don't even get food to eat. As they don't get food to eat, you just pack them. It is a kind of human rights violation against the abuses of what we call the human rights violations, issues of people involved in emergency. Then there should also be no, if there's anything like suppression of peaceful protest and freedom of assembly, as established in what we call in a bag in a camp, in 2023, under the administration of the Reverend Gentleman, His Excellency Lieutenant Dr. Hysen earlier, where some of IDP protested and they were on the roads, and most of them were tear gas and dispersed by what we call the security agency And even in Damandurumi, Damaturu, Medjugorje, such act is barbaric, is uncalled for, is unwarranted, and is not allowed when it whatsoever whoever involved on them. The victims of emergency, victims of what we call disasters, they are allowed to protest. If there's any issues that is not involving them, they're not happy about, they have the right to protest, they have to stage their protest, their views will be heard. So for anywhere you see, including agency, the military using them, using the police, using what we call political thugs to intimidate them, coerce them to taking some certain decision, and any of such is conduct, all you need to in this is that you involve us in emergency, those of us in the stakeholders, that message will be passed across, and you see, using the Geneva Convention, the international charters, you see that what will happen. Most cases, we begin to talk about this, just like you stated, a lot of people are not aware. They don't know, so they feel that they are doing what we call gift offering assistance. No, they are not. It's what is expected of you to do, and it's duly work budgeted for, and you took an oath to work. Any of those IDP can also be able to hold responsible and involved in governance. Then the denial of humanitarian assistance to some certain communities. Some certain communities, just like you talk about, involving in disaster issues of emergency, be it on the low, medium, or what we call moderate emergency or intensity, be it moderate or what we call catastrophic, are denied humanitarian assistance. Simply because we mentioned that here before, some of them because of party affiliation, some of them because of religion, some of them from where, because locality where they come from, some of them because they refuse to be coerced in doing some certain things. It's part of human rights violation. And remember, I gave you an example of some of the human rights agency, international agency, that they're just waiting just to get the information. If they get information on this, they talk about the case, you don't need to pay a dime. You don't need to. All you need to do is just be bold enough to be able to report that kind of situations. We put them in place, and then they'll take care of that. It was during a part of that, you remember they bring back our guests, bring back during the war to Lagos, with all of that, and people that were involved. They took in a lot of that. That was taken by Transparency International, was taken by SALUC, and all of that, and a lot has been done. There should be no discrimination whatsoever against persons with disabilities. We mentioned that. Those who are involved in disasters, as you tag them, if there's any discrimination of such, that should be vanished. The lack of transparency and accountability is also part of the violation. Where disasters have been emergency, materials are brought to them. Some are packed in the night and carted away, or some of them not stating them what is involved, money that is supposed to be given to them, just like we mentioned, that we are a whooping sum of 864 million that's been given to them for the disaster management. The whole thing goes into comatose. In comatose in such that nothing is being transparent. They don't know what is given to the individuals. They don't know what is coming to communities, and all of that. That is against the human rights violation, and that is against what we call the certain issues that we are talking about. We are, how many of us in the class now? 7. When we also take some certain decision, we discovered that some people will feel it is not discrimination, but it's the right on certain decision that we're supposed to take. We take all of this into cognizance and we do all of that. It's part of the right and human violations of the human rights that is involved. Then let's look at a NGO, non-governmental organizations, and then that involve in emergency and humanitarian services. And the first one we have on the list is the Red Cross Society. The Red Cross Society, you say it was formed in 1963. In 1963, that the Red Cross Society, one of their basic functions is protecting of human rights. And we remember we mentioned the difference between the Red Cross and the Red Crescent. It's one of the most others. When you count from 1863 to what we have now in 2025, you discover the number of years, how they have been useful, how they have been contributing, knowing the importance of emergency and humanitarian services. We told you that most of the NGOs that are surviving, most of them are operating basically based on issues of emergency. We have Doctors Without Borders. What Doctors Without Borders? We have them, most of the ones we mentioned here. Before we continue, let me put it to Abito Stella. Abito Stella, which other local, we call them local NGOs that you know that are involved in emergency and humanitarian services within your state, within your communities? That question will be answered by almost all of us. We should be able to know some local ones. Abito Stella Ngufan.
Good afternoon, sir, once again. I know of Red Cross.
Good afternoon.
I know of Red Cross.
Okay, Red Cross is an international one, but Red Cross, you got it right, but it's an international one. We have some local ones. Okay. You get it right. Red Cross is correct.
Yes, we have.
You do have to know some local ones.
Yes, Gaddafi Asimanyan's NGO.
Very good. Gaddafi Asimanya NGOs, we told them 241 where they have ambulances responding to issues of emergency and disaster management. No internal peace. Abito Stella Ngufan can form her own. And all you need to do is that you register with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Once you register with the Federal Affairs Commission, we can show you how you can be able to get resources, how you can be able to get funds, and if there's any money, emergency, how you can be able to benefit. Our own is to them. Then we go to, let's move to others who can be able to tell us. Let's go to Florence Saruk. Florence, you are not spoken today. I didn't hear you speak. You should mention some local, well, not just local. You should be able to mention some NGO that are serving in emergency and humanitarian services. Over to you, Florence. It seems Florence is not there, and we move ahead because he's still not responding. We, in emergency disasters, we are prompt. We don't begin to wait for you to time him earlier, to wait for you until when you want, or when you woke up from your sleep, before you begin to contribute the way you want, and then when you end up, you tell us that we are being too fast. No, it is part of our training. Part of our training is that we're back on drill, and not just on drill. When you wake up, if there's a call, if just a dog guy is calling me, it's expected that once he calls once or twice, I should be able to respond sharply and get up very strong, be able to be heard. Part of the local agency, we have the Justice for Peace Foundation. The Justice for Peace Foundation, they're in Wadata. They're part of the Catholic organization as well. We have some local foundation here. Most of these other ones that are available. Yeah, Nai Grace, you want to mention some of them? You have the floor. Nai Grace Joseph.
Sir, we have volunteer medical corps. Yes, sir, we have volunteer medical corps. We have trauma care international. They actually raise donation of blood to victims of trauma, either maybe accidents or in a place where maybe there is a mass destruction of a structure, maybe collapse of a building, and then people need blood, you know, also for pregnant women and also for sickle cell patients as well. They also train people to be able to like provide first aid in the phase of emergency, maybe accident and all that. So they train organization, they train individual, and they also have their sites. So people can actually sign up to become members or to get trained. Then the volunteer medical corps too, they step in when there is a major issue. So DIAS is even beyond Nigeria, but is a local NGO. But they've done several within Nigeria, Turkey, Israel, and all that I'm aware of. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Nai Grace Joseph, for a robust contribution. We mentioned this for you is that for most of you are aware, we know, but to share some certain ideas so that we can. Of the 13 NGOs and emergency and humanitarian services we mentioned here, one other information for you is that most of you, with the study of this course, you may be employed. You may even be in social works in sustainable social development, SST. That you have your PGD is going to be in sustainable. Most of the issue, they are teaching towards emergency and disaster management. and for you to work off some of these agencies, guess what happened? Most of them pay in dollars. Even if they engage you on part-time basis, even if you are just a contractor or on contract basis, even if you have a contractual agreement with them, you pay heavily, and their services are good. Most of them are here in the North Central, most of them in Abuja, most of them in Lagos, and part of them, you can see the year that the Doctor Without Borders, it came into being in 1971. They're in over 70 countries. What we call the Medicines Sans Frontières, the Oxfam International, coming into being in 1942, 92 countries plus, including Nigeria. They serve Nigerian children from 1919, over 120 countries. They are in London, they're in Switzerland, where you have most of the headquarters. We talk about the Care Internationals, 1945, over 100 countries plus. The Mercy Corps, 1979, they're involved in conflict management. All this kind of conflict you're having, I no agree, go to court. All of this one fighting and two fighting an argument where they are not ending. They're able to look from the different perspective, and they are being fair. Wherever they are fair, they will tell you where you are wrong, you'll be told. It does not matter whether you feel, but the right thing must be done. That's where we engage such kind of situations. In emergency management, we don't try to do what is psychology counseling, but we may not be able to coerce or to go divert from attention because of sentiment or certain sentiment that, oh, this and this and this. We ensure that the right thing should be done. International Rescue Committee, 1993, from 1933 to 40 thereabouts, in over 40 countries, where they are. We talk about the Amnesty International, we keep emphasizing, doing the issues of that, the conspicuous, very wonderful and powerful in Nigeria, having the issues of human rights violation. Then we look at what we call Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity, affordable housing, where you have affordable housing in 70 countries plus. What we need to do is that, it's very simple, just like we talk about. Then when you talk about argument, we just laugh. Because in this platform, if we ask you a question and you cannot answer, and you say we're being too fast, you are given an option to make sure you drop your comments. What do you essentially in the chat? Say, this is what happened, or this is my contribution, or this is what I want to say. And it will be accepted. And that's why I kept saying, talking with my friend the other time, that no, we know where we are going. And we prepare, and what we do here is standard, not what you think should be done according to you. And that is what we are training you to be. You have to take into this. When you move to all this, some of these other NGOs, they are tough, but the reward is very handsome. And not just handsome, very big. You should be ready to work, ready to prepare, ready to do according to guidelines. I was speaking with somebody that, oh, when you handle issues of emergency and disaster management, another safety measure is that, oh, you don't leave your email for more than 3 days. Where you leave your emails, for those of us, there's no way in a day or in a daytime, you synchronize your emails at about 2 or 3. You didn't check your emails for about 2 or 3 days. Say, no, because you didn't check your email and you didn't check your WhatsApp, and because they will do we look at that, we say they play. When you begin to when the issues are down and all of that, you'll be able to know. We talk about the Catholic Relief Services. The Catholic Relief Services, 1943, in over 100 countries. Most of you, they know them. You know their functions. You know what they do. We look at the International Organization for Migration in 1951. That was the agency I told you. It's simply what they need to do. They did is that they provided a swooping sum of 800 something million in Benue State here that should be handled. Then the Action AIDS International, what came into being, was established in 1972, and then 45 countries plus thereabout. Now we're looking at what we call the role of international organization in humanitarian affairs. What is their role in their international affairs? We mentioned some of this before, but the kind of recap and to a reminder for you to know and to know very well. The International Humanitarian Agency and some of these NGOs we are seeing here, they carry out need assessment. The need assessment is that what people from the various states and response, what we call response planning. They do that with what we call experts. And those experts are brought from different fields. We are carrying out need assessment. You bring social workers, you bring mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, we bring people from economics, we bring in people from sociologists, we bring in psychologists from the point of view, we bring in people that have vast in social standard, you bring in even to some extent medical doctors and what we call the multi-agency taxing. They're able to assess the situation, they're able to assess scenario, they carry out the scenario to make sure planning and disasters is done in such a way. Then there's also what we call disaster risk reduction and mitigation. We mentioned that before. That is being handled and coordinated by the United Nations Office of Disaster Risk and Reduction, what we call UNGRR. And it's a coordinating agency that is made up of 196 countries that are signatory to treaties and agreements and members of the United Nations, ranging, including those being on the sideline or those that are on observers list. They are also expected emergency food assistance. We talked much about food earlier, how they are expected in food assistance, and then also discussed earlier shelters and housing provision, where they are expected to be in shelter and housing provisions. They carry out what we call as water sanitation, how they should be in hygiene, water, what we call sanitation and hygiene and work. Then there's also kind of healthcare and medical assistance. We mentioned that, we're just trying to recap. Then we look at basically protection of the vulnerable population and children. And I put it to you now, how do we protect the vulnerable populations from those involved? How do we protect children and the elderly population? How do we protect them? Elizabeth Obonga, how do we protect the vulnerable population? And how do we carry out emergency education to children, to the elderly people that are involved in emergency and disasters? Elizabeth Obonga, over to you. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I just hope I won't be locked out because my network is very poor. I don't know if it is because I changed my location. So I just hope I won't be locked out as I make attempt to answer the question, sir. Okay. One how we can manage hello, sir, can I be heard?
Yes, go ahead.
I want to make an input, and it's going to be brief because I have been going off and on. So in case I am logged out, I just want to make a brief input. In this case, I believe if there is an emergency, can I use the word? If there is, okay, how we can manage it is, if there is a place like how we have an orphanage home, I believe if there is other agency where emergency, I don't know if I'm making any point, though. I was talking with someone recently and I said, in cases.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth Obonga, for making an attempt and trying to coordinate yourselves. For you to mention an orphanage alone, they are vulnerable population. I will give you a mark for giving an example. But when we talk about protection of the vulnerable population, yeah, we've included those as the IDPs, including those we mentioned there, just like we have orphanage and all of that, involving in emergency situation. They need, including the elderly people, age 65 and above. For those that are 65, in fact, from 60, retirees from 60, 75 and above, they're also vulnerable. And children are also part of the vulnerable population. We talk about all of them. We make sure we educate them, you protect them by taking care of them. Okay. Okay, round up your comments. You want to still say something, or we should go ahead? So Just like we were saying, we're discussing.
Sir. I was
so
saying
we make sure
a place that can be built for.
We carry out protection of emergency, vulnerable population.
I will put it in writing because my network is very poor, sir.
That is perfect. Perfect. You can just answer, put it in writing. And that is a very good one. Once you don't give us excuses and begin to argue with us, you say this. If we cannot hear you, network is, but just put it in writing. As simple, that is the rule of the game. And not story, or ending argument, or shouting match. And this is that. It's not allowed. In emergency, we carry out what is called emergency educations and child protection with search and rescue operation, where you can talk about embarking on education, educating the elderly people, how they can go about life. You know, they are a special group of people. So you take care of them, you handle them, you just make sure everything is done in such a way that it can be. Then you embark on search and rescue operation. You make sure that refugee camps and management are cared. The refugee camps management is very proper in terms of what we mentioned, water, sanitation, in terms of health. You make sure that, they have what we call maximum security. We also make sure that, those kind of the role of humanitarian agency, you carry out research. Most of you, just like we mentioned, we keep mentioning that some of you, your research, your project work will be on emergency and disaster situation. And then you'll be dealing with practical issues like this. You'll be able to make sure, to recommend and bring in in-depth information on how this can be tackled. Then distribution of relief materials. It's also one of the humanitarian agencies. They carry out distribution of relief materials, including clothing or blankets. You make sure that it's done in accordance with the law of the land. And we say NEMA works with SEMAN and the local emergency management agency, handling all of that. Apart from that, the humanitarian agencies, one of their roles is also removal of debris. Debris are removal and clearance, including cleaning of waters, where you see all of this drainages fee. But we don't allow the situation where you pack it from your house and you feel that, because you have people that have responsibility to manage a disaster situation, not just you alone, and you begin to do, you'll be arrested. And we not just, we ensure that you are not just arrested, you'll be dealt with squarely. We don't allow that emergency and disaster situation. So part of the function is removal of debris, removal of clearance, in as much as the task is part of us to assist in what we call management of disasters. It is done in line with the standards, in line with the rules of the game. There is psychological first aid and counseling. In part of the psychological first aid and counseling, how do you counsel persons that are involved in disasters, and what will actually be your message? If I've given you an assignment, if I decide that, the assignment to Ruth Manan should carry out is that to go and counsel victims of emergency and disaster at Yerowata. If I'm giving you that assignment to Ruth Manan, what will be your psychological first aid and counseling to the victims of emergency at Yerowata and those that are at the international market here in Makurdi, Benue State? What will be your message to them, or message of hope? That is over to Ruth Manan. So Ruth Manan, please, it's over to you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yes, we can hear you very well.
When I'm giving the assignment to counsel victims of Yelewata, the attack,
yes,
I think the first thing is to understand understand the impact and the nature of the
situation or emergency. Yeah, you're on course. You're right. Go ahead. Are you still with us? Okay. What Ruth Manan is saying is that he will first of all need to understand the nature of his victims the nature of emergency situation, the nature of disaster that engulf the people. When he knows the nature of that, he'll be able to cancel them according to the emergency and disaster situation that he finds himself. I agree with you in total. But not just knowing that, you have to engage them, hear from their own side of the story. Sometimes all they need is that you just need somebody to talk to. In emergency situation, whereby the whole family is gone, your friends are gone, your sisters are gone, all you need to do is that you can just give them a message of hope. To Ruth Banam, I will be there for you. I'm your friend, I'm your new brother. Just like you say, people who in the videos, they say the Lord is your shepherd. I shall not want, we will be there for you. And we will make sure all that you have lost with time, we will make sure even if you don't recover, you can be able to ameliorate or mitigate the situation. Then this kind of support and livelihood, what we call the economic situation, where you can provide them with grants, we mentioned that before, giving them empowerment as part of the role of humanitarian services. Empowerment is that we are teaching them how to catch fish and not just eat fish. In emergency role and disaster, we expect that you teach them to embark on what we call durable solution. And durable solution, we are talking about skill acquisition, engage them involved in issues like hairdressing, soap making. It could blend issues like makeup, maybe makeup, not just makeup. They could also be involved in barbers. You can barber their shop. They could also be involved in making of beads. Making of beads. They can also be involved people that can be cooking. Yeah, they can easily arrange their parts. Be involved in food and vending and all of that as a source of livelihood by making income. And then that is done in coordination, in collaboration with government agency and other stakeholders involved. In summary, what we say with the disaster management, emergency situation is every man's business. It's for all of us. It's for the government, it's for the public sectors, it's for the NGOs, it's for members of the student of class of SST 721, social standard in emergency and humanitarian services, except if what we call the camp. For as long as we are not reaching exams in this course as an elective, it is also allowed that, when you find out that, this is too tough for you, you are not interested, we simply need to do is that you have just meet back to the registration officer, the HOD, and you not be part of our exams, and we'll be glad, we will show you bye-bye to emergency and disaster management. But for now, we need to involve in search and rescue, debris removal, support the humanitarian agency so that we can have a disaster and a free society. Thank you, and God bless you. We have come to the end of these lectures for today, and we will be giving rooms for questions, we will be giving rooms for comments, we will be giving rooms for contributions, we will be giving room for any questions you have pertaining disasters and pertaining emergency situation. You are free to ask. Remember, we say tomorrow, the comments in the chat section, I've seen them and contribution, including the one from what we have. Remember, we said tomorrow is going to be our last class. It's also going to be a kind of revision. We'll be taking the class and it will be more intensive than this, and we'll also be carrying out revision so that we leave some other few days that you have from Thursdays and Thursdays, and what we call Friday, to be able to do your assignments on time. Remember, we say 10 days and also submit on time. We receive and we know what we do so that together we can have a free emergency and a very strong society so that we achieve the sustainable development goal. And over to the class for comments, for questions, for contributions, and all that you have. Thank you. We still just 7 in class. We've come to the end of this class. If there's any comments, if there's any questions, even though from what we did from yesterday, if there's anything you have that's bothering in emergency and social standard in emergency and humanitarian services, it's for you, you have time, you have the floor to ask the questions before we call it a day. Dr. Jaffe.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, class.
Thank you very much, Bahan.
My not a question for now. It's a remarks.
Okay.
I think I am not
Okay.
trying to. My remarks are that since we started this program, for me, with even the poor network yesterday, is more participatory.
Yeah.
Others are participatory equally. But sometimes the materials that you need to go through, that in the end you may drop a question as you have requested. Sometimes we're not giving on time. So with this one, each day we end the class, will go through it. And I believe by tomorrow, people will be able to come up with a question. But the flow was just too good. In as much as some persons agree to be fast, it was good. It was flowing.
Thank you very much.
That is why it was fast. So I appreciate you.
Let me
for
also
this
give
lecture.
you another information. Emergency, social standard and emergency and disaster humanitarian services. Even my wife is aware. Even my relations and colleagues, we take questions anytime. If you are reading in the night 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and you are disturbed and you want clarification, if it's pertaining emergency and disaster, you are free to call me. And be rest assured you'll be attended to. We accept it. And because we signed the treaty, it's part of our Geneva Convention. So even when I'm sleeping, my wife is used to it, my relation and they are used to it now. We don't have time. Anytime you can call, anytime, even my boss, that is, if it's 2 hours, you can call me, the professor that you saw there, we attend to you. If you can send email, be rest assured that we respond to you in less than 12 hours, depending. If I have some of the mails I'm having now, at the end of the day, I will attend to them, and most of them for not just in your class. So feel free to ask any question, anytime, any day, pertaining social standard in emergency and disaster management. Tomorrow we'll be showing you the role of SEMA. We'll be telling you their tenure. We'll be telling you what NEMA is supposed to have done, what SEMA is supposed to have done. We will tell you what the international law, how these people operate, why is it that they are not doing within your backyard, and all of that. And we'll also do revision. Revision in the sense that in the direction of the kind of question we'll be having in your exams, the type that you'll be likely having your exams. In emergency and disasters, when you err, we'll tell you. But then when we also exams, we tell you what to expect. It's a practical class. So that at the end of days, once you cooperate and do everything, you pass your A's and B's and go. It's very easy to pass. It's also very easy to fail. Any questions, any comment, any contributions, you're welcome. Let's have it before we go to a close. Is there any question or any comments again?
Thank you so much, sir, for a wonderful lecture. Yes, for me, I look forward to the revision. I look forward to the revision class tomorrow, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Not just revision, we'll be having a class. We will have a class. After we have the class that we devote some meetings and we do revision. So tomorrow we are still having our class, but I'm giving you grace because we gave you assignment and is working towards emergency. For being considerate, we end up the class tomorrow, and then we will also do revision for you to have enough time to prepare so that emergency and disaster may not happen to you in your exams.
It's all right, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir, you keep emphasizing that we will end the class tomorrow. And the second lecturer is not coming on. Or
no, all that you need to do be done.
Okay. All right.
The materials you have here, everything you have here is enough for you at your own level. So you my boss, distinguished professors, I'm like God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Once you see me, it's like when you see Jesus Christ, you have seen the Lord already. So when you see, I'm like the Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit.
It's okay. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir,
We come to the end of the class.
Sir, you're my supervisor. I will be getting across to you.
Am I your supervisor?
Eh?
Are you sure? Are you very sure?
Yes, you're my supervisor. I'm very sure.
Okay. Okay, no
Yes,
issue.
sir.
You are welcome. Take care. You're
Thank
welcome.
you, sir.
Now we'll call it. We stop sharing the slide for now. We are off leaving, and we say bye bye, and God bless all of you.
God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bless you too, sir.